I'd like an average member of the public to be able to broadly describe what a heat pump is. I think if that was the case, then we'd have made some real progress. In the Sustainable Future mission, we've got two main focuses at the moment. One is about supporting the transition to low carbon heat, so getting low carbon heating sources in people's homes, and another is about helping people to use electricity more efficiently in their homes and use it when renewable energy is available. So one of the things we're specifically looking at is cost and affordability of heat pumps, because they're one of the main low carbon solutions available at the moment, but they are quite expensive and out of reach of many people. One of the things that we're doing is really trying to dig down into what heat pumps actually do cost in practice, because there's lots of information out there, but it's actually quite unclear how those costs break down, what's the cost of the kit versus the cost of installation, how much they cost to run over time, how that actually compares over the lifetime of your current system like a gas boiler. So we really want to get into the nitty-gritty of that, and I think that will help us understand where the most potential is for cost reduction and hopefully look at projects where we can bring down the cost for people. One of the most exciting things about coming into the mission is seeing what other work that people are doing, and there's so much great stuff out there that I think we can both learn from and hopefully work with. We really admire the work of the Energy Systems Catapult, which has done some fantastic work around looking at new business models for decarbonising homes. There's some great innovators out there. I've really been impressed by the work that Cero has been doing in Wales. They've been supporting the Welsh Government's optimised retrofit programme, and they're looking at ways to build basically pathways for individual homes to decarbonise over time. So loads of things are inspiring us at the moment. The thing that I'd most like to see happen in the sector in the next 5 years is for low carbon heating solutions to be much more widely available and much more normal, really, so that they're not seen as something that is only for the most environmentally minded or something that people just don't really understand. Maybe they've heard the word but they don't know what they look like in practice. One thing I'd like to change in the field is that I'd really like those who are working in it to have a shared basis of facts to work from. One of the things I've really noticed coming in is that there is quite a lot of anecdote, a lot of personal stories that inform people's understanding of what is and isn't possible. So for example, if we talk about heat pumps, there'll often be someone who says, well, I tried to get one in my house and I was told that I couldn't do it, and that means heat pumps don't work. And we know that that isn't the case, but actually as a sector, we don't really have a great view of how far solutions like heat pumps are appropriate for all homes in the UK, whether what you need to have in place in order for a heat pump to work. And the same is true for other low carbon heating solutions and for other issues that we might come across in terms of things like how easy or difficult it is to retrofit UK homes. So I think one thing that I'd like to see change is really to be able to move away from anecdotes and anecdata and really to have a better shared understanding of what is and isn't possible. One podcast I really like, or I'd really recommend listening to, is the Beta Talk podcast by Nathan Gambling. Nathan is he's got a background in plumbing and heating and air conditioning. He's really the voice of engineers, heating engineers, and he is so knowledgeable about all the technical side of things, the engineering, what the products and solutions are and how you get them into people's homes. But he's also really good at explaining that for a generalist audience. So he doesn't hold back, he doesn't dumb it down, he really talks about the detail, but it's something that you can engage with even if you don't know much about this subject. And he also speaks to very interesting people, so he interviews other people who are working in his sector, really skilled engineers, policymakers, innovators, people who've done stuff in their own homes. So I'd strongly recommend that. And if I can have a second recommendation, I'd also say try out the Local Zero Pod. This is a really good energy policy podcast. What makes me hopeful in this field is that it feels like finally there's the public backing for real movement, first on climate change generally and also on decarbonising homes in particular. And we know this is an area where there hasn't been much change over the last 20 years or so, but it feels like there's been a bit of a sea change. So public awareness, even around low carbon heat, is going up a lot. The public see climate change as one of the biggest issues that needs tackling. There are there's movement from government to support this, and there are lots of really interesting innovators and companies coming into the space. And I think that that type of movement will make a real difference.